Story 1. I don't think I would say it's pointless, but I dedicated over 6,000 hours to leading a significant career-defining project at work. I wasn't keeping track of hours, but it became my primary focus for about 3 years. It involved 3 years of unreasonable deadlines, high expectations, toxic politics, high stress, and obstacles from all directions, including a global pandemic, but I accomplished it. By the end, I was working 50 to 70-hour weeks to meet the deadline. After all that, having worked on almost nothing else for 3 years, what did my boss say? At our first one-on-one meeting afterward, he told me, "Well, I hate to say this, but I'd have to give your efforts a B. It's not bad, but I could have done it better." This from a man who seemingly went out of his way to try and make me fail. I'm self-aware enough to know when I've done good work, and this was good work. Perfect? Of course not, but it was excellent. Colleagues from outside the organization were impressed. I believe my boss was insecure and felt the need to make others feel small. It was like, wow, I went above and beyond and succeeded despite you, and you have the nerve to belittle my efforts? Why would I ever go above and beyond for you again? Thankfully, I no longer work there. Story 2, my job. We have been developing a piece of software for the past 3 years. I am one of 3 subject matter experts who know this software inside and out. I trained hundreds of people on it, do troubleshooting for issues, and have helped hone and develop the features to meet the client's specifications. And they are getting rid of it next year. They decided to go with another program they can get cheaper. All my knowledge will be useless as of March 2025. Story 3. I spent 5 years studying to become a medic, then continued studying and became an advanced rescue technician, then kept learning all the weird and wonderful bits and pieces. I wasted a small fortune on my studies. Now I'm in a different field. But I know how to intubate and run an intravenous line on a squirrel's tail in the dark on the side of the highway in the rain while being threatened by a person named Candy who's holding a knife. Story 4. Learning to speak Dutch. It looked like I was going to move to Belgium at one point, but that fell through. It's not a very useful language if you don't live in Belgium or the Netherlands. Story 5. Wealth building. I was quite successful at it too, but miserable within myself. I had 4 mentors, 2 had heart attacks in their 40s, 1 committed suicide, and the other is doing prison time for fraud. I live a much humbler and more frugal life now and am significantly happier. I have found that the path to happiness is through less, not more. Story 6. Didn't invest thousands of hours, but I was so good at texting with the number pad. I think it was called T9 texting. I could easily write a text in my pocket. Story 7. As a teenager from late 2009 to late 2010, I spent way too much time on the PlayStation 3 version of WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 foot game online. I remember being the number 12 on the whole global leaderboard. It was pointless. I let the competitiveness get the better of me. Overall, video games. I played a lot of video games as a teenager, child, and even adult. Games like WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 to 2011, WWE 12/13, and WWE 2K14, Metal Gear Solid 4, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, 2009, and Black Ops 1, Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 4, Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, Guitar Hero 3 and Live, Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3, Spyro 1, 2, and 3, Doom 1, 2, 2016, and Eternal, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, Bully, Dungeon Keeper 1 and Red Alert 2, Roller Coaster Tycoon and Zoo Tycoon. But I enjoyed them all, so I don't really regret it. Story 8. Every hour outside of school or work was spent at the disc golf course. Discs went with me everywhere. I spent thousands on discs, merchandise, and tournament fees. I got good enough to be considered local good, but not money-making level. I can't say it was completely pointless. Kept me moderately healthy through my 20s and 30s. Story 9. My previous job, I spent 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears working to make the product and company good. The owner had plans to build up the company and sell it, and I happily helped out. I worked crazy amounts of overtime and invested all my mental energy into it. He sold the company as planned. The new owners closed our location, firing everyone, and transferred the product to another office because labor was less expensive there. Less than a year later, the other group had messed things up so badly the product was dead and gone. 7 years of my life thrown in the trash. This is why, at my current job, I only work my expected hours and refuse to get personally invested in the product or company. Story 10. My Steam library, in the grand scheme of things, well, I guess you could argue it isn't pointless since it's given me so much, but it's just sitting around collecting dust. Story 11. Work. I've wasted roughly 35,000 hours at work so far. Still got another 33,000 to go. Sure, I did stuff, but if I didn't, someone else would have. None of it really means anything. Story 12. Breathing, existing, losing my wife to cancer, losing my dad to cancer, also known as Agent Orange, losing my mom because she drank herself to death. People mainly dying. I hate cancer. Story 13. I was a stage builder and lighting technician in London. After a respectable career, I went to university to get a degree in my field. Shortly after, I moved to a rural location for childcare reasons, and not only is there no stage work, but I kind of lost interest. I did run a small community theater for a while, but it was combined with being a teacher and was too stressful to continue. I think it was mostly the loss of interest. Man, that was an expensive degree. Story 14. Skyrim and Fallout 4. All good things end. It's been 13 years since I stopped playing Call of Duty because of the endless toxic comments I didn't want to hear in every single match. I haven't looked back. Story 15. A salsa certification with a salsa school in my city. A world-renowned instructor charged us over $3,500 to only let us teach for him and not get paid until we completed the certification. Nothing was consistent, and the group of us that were getting certified had to tell him to meet with us to continue the certification course. All the while, we were teaching for him while paying him for the certification. He kept telling us he would pay us after we completed the certification, but we never finished. He eventually quit the certification chat because one student annoyed him or something. He would threaten to sue us if we stopped paying since we had to sign a contract to get started. A friend of mine did the beginner level part of the certification and completed it. She never got paid. We got used because he needed bodies to pretend he had a class going on. Story 16. Building a website. I swore it was going to be successful. It is quite complex and I still have it running, but it never gets visitors. I don't even charge if anyone does use it, as I've given up on success. Story 17. If you, as a male, hear the dreaded, "I'm not happy," just go. Trust me. Accept it because she's not going to change her view on anything and will just harbor more resentments toward you for trying to fix the relationship. Women always have the option to remain single or get into a relationship. Men, generally speaking, try to salvage it because we go long stretches of time being single. That's not our reality, but it doesn't matter because they'll never understand your perspective or care to put themselves in your shoes anyway. Story 18. I play 5 to 10 blitz chess games every night. I mean every night. So 1 hour, let's say. I've done this for years, so I'm probably in the thousands of hours now. The problem is I love it, don't regret it, and will do it again tonight. Story 19. Facebook. I got it when I was in high school because it was an easy way to stay in touch with friends. I was on it until 2020 and then decided to let it go. Not only did no one really try to stay in touch, but it felt like more and more people were talking at each other. I had multiple breakdowns because I would often get left unread while the person was actively posting memes and other stuff. I would find out who was actually sorry they didn't invite me to things because I wouldn't hear about the event until after they posted it. It really led to hurt feelings. Now that I'm not on it, it's out of sight, out of mind. The big downside is I did like the memory posts for nostalgia. Story 20. Dungeons and Dragons Online. I played for 12 years and just got busy, then lost interest. My wife and I used to eat dinner at our computers for raid night. More than once, we played all weekend long. Now we are in bed at 8:30. I sometimes try to boot up but lose interest by the time I log in. Story 21. I did percussion in school since middle school. Marched drums indoor and outdoor seasons in high school. Practiced daily for years of my life and just stopped when I graduated. Graduated 7 years ago and haven't done anything with my skills or knowledge pertaining to drums. Story 22. Friends who are lost causes cannot take responsibility for how their actions are the reason life is treating them this way. They also don't believe in modern medicine and are against vaccines. I have no time for these Facebook scientists. Story 23. World of Warcraft. I had hundreds of days played on my main character by the time I quit about 10 years ago. It was fun for a while, and I do not regret my time playing it in the early years. But I definitely spent 4 to 5 years just chasing meaningless achievements and dopamine drips when the game had become mostly grinding that I did not even enjoy playing. Story 24. Gaming. Specifically console gaming at first, but now it's all gaming, even PC. I recently quit, so it's glaringly apparent to me how much time I wasted. Luckily, I was still successful in real life, so it wasn't like it ruined my life, but it definitely prevented me from being even better. Story 25. I learned a lot about two-stroke engines and everything that runs on one. I like playing with chainsaws and modifying them for fun. Two-stroke engines are dying and being regulated away because of how they work. I've invested a lot of skills in a dead-end design. In the next few years, everything two-stroke will have an electric or four-stroke equivalent. Story 26. Football. I was never good enough to make it to college, much less the National Football League. But I loved it and I was okay at it, so I gave it my all. I'm not mad about it, but it is now a pointless skill. Story 27. My degree in medical information management took 2 years and cost $20,000. Now, I work in the mental health field, and the only thing I use for my schooling is my Microsoft Office skills. Story 28. Now pointless? Playing League of Legends and RuneScape has always been. Although the friendships I made, the bonds I formed, I still keep, so maybe not all that useless. But I didn't need to grind to gold on a trackpad. Story 29. Probably video games. I just can't look at them and play them like I used to. I'm almost 30 now, and I view video games negatively. If I cared about living my life, meeting girls, going on dates, and such, instead of spending all day and late into the night playing video games, I would have a much better life today. Because it took me so long to get out and do things, it's been affecting my relationship with my girlfriend. I'm scared to take the next steps for our future. But I'm getting there, just have to allow myself to take the plunge. Story 30. Getting a certified public accountant license. No point now that the governing body is allowing people in the Philippines and India to become certified public accountants at a fraction of the cost. And employers can outsource more work and pay certified public accountants overseas for pennies on the dollar. The accounting industry is a joke. A bunch of baby boomers ruining the industry just so they can get a second yacht. Story 31. Woods of Warcraft. They say 10,000 hours makes you an expert. Well, I have something to say about that. Many days spent playing that game and I was mediocre at best. Story 32. Ultimate Team in the FIFA games, now called EA Sports FC. I got quite good during the lockdown and kept playing for a few years after that. I quit playing this year because it feels impossible to get the really high-end players without spending money on the game. I'm much happier playing story-driven games or just games that don't frustrate me. But I can't help but feel like I wasted so much time. Story 33. I didn't take school seriously and instead worked for a living in parallel. Now, I literally only remember a little of the material. Story 34. Massively multiplayer online tanking. Specifically Star Wars, The Old Republic and World of Warcraft. I was a main Sith Inquisitor and Death Knight and was honestly pretty good. I had all the Nightmare Mode timed run achievements as a Sith Inquisitor tank in Star Wars, The Old Republic. Nightmare Mode timed runs involve clearing the raid in a certain amount of time after the first boss is pulled. It requires near-perfect execution on every boss in some cases, while other raids have more generous timers. Then COVID-19 hit, and my free time evaporated. The vaccines were released right as I was progressing the first Shadowlands raid in World of Warcraft. I started having to work 6 days per week every week administering them. I didn't have the time or energy to keep up with it. Story 35. Most hobbies aren't pointless, but War Thunder though? I remember burning the Mac desktop screen after leaving it open in the hangar for 2 weeks while at a hockey camp. Story 36. After reading many comments, I see lots of gaming and relationship-based comments. To be honest, the ones about the marriages seem to be the scariest. Thanks for the wisdom, strangers. Story 37. I spent thousands of hours binge-watching every single episode of a TV show that ended with a total cliffhanger and never got renewed. I could have used that time to learn a new skill or pick up a hobby, but instead, I'm left with a lot of knowledge about a fictional world that's never getting any closure. Story 38. I spent years working as a carpenter, always starting as labor, then skilled, and eventually working under a red seal. But things always seemed to change, and the company no longer needed me. This cycle repeated. I went through this with a few companies and ended up working with a solid red seal who took me on side jobs after that company left many of us behind. It was going well, I was making good money, and learning even more. Then I found out after a dirt bike accident that I have degenerative osteoarthritis, with some scoliosis and stenosis in my neck and lower back. I'm 35. It's hard to accept. My bladder is starting to leak, and sometimes it's hard to coordinate my left side. I'm in constant pain either in my neck, lower back, butt, or leg, which is helped by medication for nerve pain and a lot of over-the-counter pain medication. I can't work in construction anymore at all. Aside from moonlighting as a cook, all I've ever done is construction and manufacturing. I am so lost. I have no idea what to do with myself. I have people who depend on me, and it's getting harder and harder to support them because I feel so hopeless and useless.